school to actually meet you in person, but also to show you our beautiful school, which we're extremely proud of. So just to give you a little bit of information about JPC, and we can see that there's some chats coming in, so that's great to hear, to see. So JPC started in 2013, and I have been absolutely privileged to have been with the school from the beginning of the journey, even before the first foundation stone was turned. I was lucky enough to be appointed the assistant principal in end of 2012, and spent some time helping Catherine Ray, who was our principal, set things up. So Catherine's currently seconded to the CE as consultant to the director, and I've been privileged enough to become the acting principal for this year. So it's an amazing community that we have here at JPC, and we have many things to be proud of. I think a school that starts off quite small and has grown over the years we're really a school that I believe is punching above its weight. So even in our first 2 years, our Year 12 cohort that have gone through, we have achieved some excellent academic achievements with our students, and we're extremely proud of them. So 100% of both year groups, so every student has received their Year 12 senior secondary certificate, and last year we were very excited to be able to celebrate a 99.25 as the top academic achievement for our ATAR student. So that's been a very, very exciting journey just in 2 years. But I guess more importantly, what we have, I believe, raised is students who are good people. So they are people that are generous and kind and community minded. They have followed pathways that have taken them in a variety of different, on a variety of different journeys, and have visited us, which is really lovely. We see them quite regularly, and we are so excited to hear the journeys that they have been on. And I guess as sometimes what we do is we think, well, that's Year 12, wonderful. But those successes only happen because the journey starts in Year 7 and the work starts in Year 7. And so we're very proud of how we have grown and developed those young people over the years and continue to do so. As I said, with Gage and Georgia and our other Year 12 cohort, we're again, an amazing group of young people who in Year 12, probably the most exciting but overwhelming year of their life, are doing an amazing job in very difficult circumstances. So I guess the question that people often ask JPC is, why do we do what we do? Because we do things differently, and we're extremely proud of why we do things differently. And so traditionally, schools were set up for an industrial model of education. And if you're really interested and would like to explore further, can I highly recommend that you have a look at some of the YouTubes that Sir Ken Robinson puts out, which really talks about the traditional model of schooling is driving content, exams, and then students are filtered into in certain areas. That's not how schools operate anymore. It's not how life operates anymore. And we often hear the talk about 21st century thinking and 21st century skills. And I truly believe that that is what we teach here at school, because we need to do things differently. This whole situation with COVID-19 is absolutely exemplary of children that we need to have as being flexible and agile, that they are creative, that they are able to adapt and move on, and that they are able to learn new ways. So instead of the focus being on content and driving a content, which is probably where, as I might be showing my age here, but that the system that we were brought up with, what we're trying to teach the students are those 21st century skills, all starting with C: collaboration, critical and creative thinking, communication, character, and citizenship. And I'm talking to the parents now, but as people that work with other people or employ other people or have people that we were working to, the people that we most like working with are those people that have those skills. We don't want to have to answer questions from our co-workers every 2 minutes. We want them to be working with us collaboratively. We want them to be problem solving. We want them to be communicating with us. So those are the skills that we are really wanting and needing our young people to be doing. So we talk about these skills a lot. You'll hear it mentioned frequently in the media, and 21st century skills are a bit of a buzzword. But I guess where we really can take great pride is that we actually explicitly teach those skills. And so we do that through our, and they're not, we often think that there's something that some people just learn and other people just, sadly miss out. But we know that everybody is capable of learning those skills, and that everybody is capable of refining those skills as well. So how we deliberately teach those skills is through our independent learning time, and Mr. Nick Watman's going to talk to you more about that as well. But hand in hand, that citizenship and character building is also very much part of our mentoring program. But also we're aware that that's a learning curve, and so that is not a journey that we ever expect students to take on their own, and that is why that mentor relationship is so important. And Mr. David Johns will be talking to you more about our mentoring system and also the supports we have in place. So one of the other, I think, very empowering pieces of research that I came across only at the beginning of this year is that Flinders University have done a major research into who succeeds at university, and they've sort of extended that, but who succeeds in life. And what they discovered is that success at university doesn't depend on an ATAR. It doesn't depend on a number. So what the research says is students who get over 95, lucky kids, they tend to do well at university. Kids that get under 56 don't do well at university. However, there's a big group of kids in between those numbers, and what they've discovered is that if they know how to work independently, if they know how to research skillfully, if they know how to set targets and reach them, they are the students that actually do well. And so that, I guess, is also reflected if you in life after university. Again, we've had a number of recruitment people and universities come out and actually highly commend what we're doing because we're actively teaching those things. So that I suppose is the thing, that the message that I want to give you most of all. And I know lots of people have lots of questions about independent learning time, and so we're happy to talk a bit more about that. So before I finish, I just wanted to say I'm so sorry that you can't actually be here physically in the building to see us, that you actually can't meet our students. And on open day, the thing that we love the most is that you're actually meeting our students, because they are the greatest testament to what we do here. They're often honest, they're often forthright, they're often very clear in telling you what it's like for them to be at school. unfortunately, we can't offer that, but what we have been able to do is to try and give you a little bit of a mini tour that mimics what it would be like. And so Gage and Georgia have actually created a video where they take you on a tour through the school, and that's available on our website. It's under the enrolment drop-down box, and it's sitting there, but we'll also send you out a link to that when we also send out the frequently asked questions, so you can have a really good look at what the school's like. In the meantime, if you want to go onto the website, on the front page there's a virtual tour. It just is a physical hovering around the building. It shows our beautiful building, and I really encourage you to have a look at both of those, even though we can't physically be here. So I'm actually going to pass you over to Dr. Anne Cleary, and she's going to just talk to you a little bit about our curriculum and what it's like for a Year 7 student here on a day-to-day basis. So over to you, Dr. Cleary.
You have to unmute me first.
Now, where are you? No, I can't find you.
Tonight we're compartmentalising for the sake of delivering the information to you. My houses, I'm lucky to be the leader of the two houses sort of directly behind me here, the green and the gold houses. So I'm the AP for Van Tuan and Ferre. As Steph said, one of the things that we all recognise is that those fantastic results that we're seeing with our senior students just reflects the hard work of the students and therefore the teachers from the time they enter, when they walk in the door on their first day of Year 7 till the last day they walk out in Year 12. And at JPC, we really do have a focus on developing students' understanding and skills across the various curricula that we offer, and on supporting each and every one of our students to develop into confident and successful young learners. So I think that's our big picture goal as teaching and learning focus. To do that, just some logistics. Our timetable is pretty straightforward. We have 5 lessons a day, and for the quick maths people, that's 25 lessons in a week. And Mondays are always Mondays. I say that because some schools have various rotating timetables, and it can be complicated to work out what to do and what to wear on any particular day. But at JPC, we have a 5-day timetable, so Monday is always Monday. Each student in Year 7 does 8 subjects, and these cycle through a pattern 3 times a week. If you've done the maths there, you'll see we're 1 lesson short, and that's dedicated to a pastoral care lesson with the houses of the students. In about week 5, we switch to our independent learning timetable, and it's the middle session of the week that becomes our student-driven learning time, and you'll hear more about that in a moment. So what are the students learning when they're actually here? Well, they learn the full range of subjects that you would expect to have covered in a school, although we do it in our unique JPC way. All students do religious education. That curriculum comes from the Catholic education here in Canberra Goulburn, and they also study all the other areas of the Australian curriculum. So we've got English and the social sciences, which include history and geography, and they're integrated into one subject that we call integrated humanities. This subject's great because it allows teachers to really consolidate the learning of the English language conventions in the context of teaching ancient civilizations or our place in the world. The integrated humanities counts as 2 subjects on the timetable, but with the advantage of only having 1 teacher for that double class. The same thing applies with our integrated maths and science. So we teach maths and science together. and as a math science teacher myself, I'm very enthusiastic about. And it really makes for great opportunities to connect STEM concepts, the learning, and so that students build their mathematical thinking and ability through that application in science, covering both areas of the curriculum together, which is effective and meaningful. We're also at the moment trialling maths pathways, and I think it's going fantastically for the kids at the moment. And it's a further way of, it's a structured program that we are implementing that further strengthens the way students learn mathematics and builds their strength in that area. So as I said, it's an integrated subject, so it's also counting 2 subjects on the timetable, and again with 1 teacher. So our integration of those 2 pairs of subjects means that your child has fewer teachers that they have to connect with. It also means that the Year 7 teachers can really get to know their students. They're typically seeing them twice as much as they would see any other year level student. And what that does is a real support for students transitioning into high school when they're used to 1 or 2 teachers and a single classroom, and they're coming into high school with 8 subjects, different teachers and multiple classrooms. It can be a bit of a hectic time that we fully support students through. But the integrated subjects really, really do help with that transition. In addition to that, all our students, as you'd expect, study PE, so health and physical education. And in Years 7 and 8, they do a termly rotation through technology and arts. So for most of you, I think, are heading into Year 7, the students do food tech, design and technology, music, and drama. So they don't need to choose anything, they just are moved through those subjects through the course of the year. And the final subject, if you're counting, number 8, in no particular order, is the language. And at JPC, we offer the opportunity for students to learn either French or Chinese. Now, it may be that your primary school doesn't teach either of those languages, and that's absolutely fine. All subjects, all languages are taught from beginner level, so no prior knowledge is assumed. We do our best to give you the language of your choice, but that just depends on class sizes and your preferences. So once the enrolment period is over and all of the offers have been accepted, we will contact you to ask you for what your choice of language is for next year. And we'll also ask you to let us know if your child has a particular talent and previous music experience and would like to be part of our concert band. We have many musical groups here at the college, a fantastic music program. And if your child is talented in that area, we build that through the Year 7 music class to become the concert band. So we'll ask you for that information later on. Students learning about digital technologies is part of the curriculum, but it's also enhanced by their use of an Apple iPad in all of their classes. So full details, specifications of the iPads will be distributed after the enrolment period. But if you want to look now, there's details on the website if you want to get an idea of the expectations there. Just to confirm, students still do handwriting. They still need pens, paper, books. But the use of technology is integrated into their learning to really enhance that process. You know, how do they access information and to allow creative responses? So some of the amazing things these kids can produce these days, they're video blogging, you know, they record their performances as rehearsals, you know, they might be doing online quizzes. So that real use of technology is integrated across the curriculum in all that they do. Really, our key goal at JPC is to support our students to really build resilience in their learning and independence in their learning. We do that in every subject, in every class, but really, as Ms. Amara said at the beginning, the unique structure of JPC is really built to support that. And so that's what we call our independent learning time. And I'd now like to pass over hopefully with not too many technical glitches, over to Mr. Nick Watman, who's now going to expand on what ILT is, what it looks like. Thank you very much.
Just before Nick begins his presentation, we've managed to sort out our technical glitch with Georgia and Gage, so we might just, though it's probably not the perfect timing, ask them just to lead us, do the acknowledgement of country and then lead us in our school prayer.
Okay. I would like to acknowledge the Ngunnawal people, who are the traditional custodians of the land on which we are meeting, and pay respect to elders of the Ngunnawal Nation, both past, present and emerging. I extend this respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples in attendance today.
God of love, we thank you for the gift of our college. Help us to recognise and celebrate the diverse gifts and talents that embody the unique community of our education and faith. St. John Paul II called us to open wide the doors to Christ so that we can be people of justice, peace and courage in all that we do. Guide us on our journeys, strengthen us to follow the example of our patron as we seek to build your kingdom here and now. Empower us to be people of wisdom and integrity, seeking opportunities to learn and grow in our knowledge of ourselves and of others. Send your Spirit into our hearts so that we can be people of hope with the strength and fortitude to proclaim with zeal the message of the gospel. May your loving presence be a source of inspiration for our students, staff, and parents. We make this prayer through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
St. John Paul II, pray for us.
For us. Holy Spirit. Amen. Can I just say a huge thank you to Gage and Georgia for their flexibility and resilience. I know that they've got quite a lot of work on at the moment, so I'm going to say thank you very much and allow them to leave that Zoom meeting, and we'll catch up with you guys soon. Thanks, guys. See ya. All right, so I'm going to pass you over to Nick, who's going to talk about independent learning time. Yeah, I'm trying to find him. Sorry.
Okay, thank you everyone. Can everyone hear me? Just give me the thumbs up. Perfect, thank you. My name is Mr. Nick Gottman, and I'm the Assistant Principal of Veritas and Mathai House. And I just really want to extend that welcome, warm welcome to you this afternoon, this evening I should say. And it's great to see so many students and parents joining us this afternoon. I'm just going to quickly talk about independent learning time, and Dr. Anne Cleary quickly touched on it in her presentation. So I'm just going to be elaborating more on that and discuss some of the logistics of that. So at St. John Paul II College, we approach education as a lifelong journey. We recognise that students' journey is unique, and that through independent learning time, we really want to prepare our students. The very best we can, so they're prepared for when they leave school for, I guess, jobs, university and so on. So we really want to allow them the opportunity through independent learning time to engage in that and develop all of their skills to be, I guess, self-regulated and independent learners. Each of the subject areas, as Dr. Cleary mentioned, we teach has equivalent of 3 hours, 3-hour-long sessions per week, which is comparable to other schools. However, the use of the time with independent learning is a little bit different to the traditional model. So one of the hours of our teaching time is devoted in that middle third of the week, as Dr. Cleary mentioned, and it's really based on students engaging in independent learning time tasks, which are set by the teachers. So teachers will set these assigned tasks or assignments to be completed in this middle third of the week, and then students plan to do those tasks with their parents or carers at home. So I guess what we're really allowing the students to do, and what we're asking the students to do, is to develop planning and resilience, and I guess that engagement and that collaboration with teachers, the student, and at home. to really get the best out of that educational journey. So I guess it's at the start it is a little bit challenging for our students to engage in independent learning time. However, we do a very gentle introduction in Year 7 into independent learning time. As Miss O'Mara stated, it doesn't start until week 5 of that next year. And within those first couple of weeks, we really have a gentle introduction into what independent learning is, how the planning works, and a lot of the logistics around that. So that when students do start independent learning time, they're very well equipped with many of the skills to get them on the right path with their learning. One thing I just did want to mention was that through independent learning, we're really, I guess, allowing students to follow a journey of their education and with their classes, and that engagement with home is really important. We really ask that students are working with their parents with their planning and collaborating with their pastoral care teachers to ensure that they're I guess, upskilling themselves in that planning process. This in turn will, I guess, allow them to develop these skills, and then as they progress through their journey from 7 to 12, they're developing the skills, and then we're sort of, I guess, allowing them to have more of that independent learning, I guess, opportunities within each of their subjects. So essentially, there will be lots of different questions for independent learning time, and we're more than happy to answer any of those. What I will do now is I'll pass on to Mr. David Johns, who's going to talk a little bit about mentoring. And again, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk with you this afternoon, and we hope you have a good evening.
Okay, you need to unmute me. Oh, can people hear me? Ah, fantastic. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to look into your respective lives, because I'm looking around at the moment and I'm seeing Millie with a dog. I'm seeing Mia over there with her mum. I'm seeing Claire and Millie down here. I'm seeing Kath. I'm seeing a Simon and Adam, and I'm seeing a Christy. And it's really wonderful. I think there's a show. It's called Googly Box or something, which gives people an opportunity to watch people watching TV. I'd wonder what you guys would be saying about us right now. So I hope it's nice. And if it's not nice, yeah, maybe keep that to yourself. Yeah. Quite interesting, you know, I'm given the opportunity to actually have a look at your lives and have a look and seeing, you know, what's going on in there. And I'm thinking, you know, what did you guys have for dinner? You know, what does the evening look like for you guys? How many people share your dinner table? You know, what time do you go to bed at night? What time do you wake up in the morning? You know, that stuff we don't know and we don't necessarily need to know. But obviously, as kids progress through schooling, aspects of that are going to influence how well you guys engage with what's going on at school. And one of the most significant aspects of John Paul College is mentoring. Now, mentoring basically involves a teacher being assigned to upwards of 15 students, and those students can be from Year 7 all the way through to Year 12. But what's really special about that is across the year, there are 6 specific times across the year where the teacher will sit down and engage with that student in their lives and what's actually going on within their lives. And it's broken up into 4 key areas. The first one is actually called what happens in the head. Basically, there's a conversation that happens. It goes for about half an hour. And one of those 4 sections is, tell me about how things are going with you academically. What are you engaged in academically? How's the class looking for you? How are you going with your schoolwork? Are you struggling with aspects of that schoolwork? How can we somehow work together to try to make that a bit better for you? The other section is the heart. How are you feeling about your friendships? How are you feeling about your peers? You know, what's the relationship like with your teachers at the moment? How are things going at home at the moment? Are you able to access support at home? What does that look like? What could we do to try to make that a little bit better for you? The third section is called the hands. And what we're looking at is we're trying to develop in our students an interest in academics, an interest in relationship, but an interest in being able to give back to the community. And that means doing things like engaging in sport, engaging in church, engaging in other activities that show that you are giving back and you're enriching your lives through those experiences. And that's why we refer to the hands as one of them. And the last one is spirit. You know, we're a Catholic school and we have a belief and understanding of Jesus Christ, but at the same time, people are on their spiritual journeys, and that looks different for different people. So the spirit is about where you're at in terms of how you feel about your journey in life. And it's an opportunity to have that conversation. What's really great about mentoring is that what we develop through those 4 areas 6 times a year is we develop an individual staff member who's an advocate for your son and daughter. An advocate in the sense that they understand the context that your son or daughter is in. And so when the wheels fall off, in the odd occasion that that happens, when there's struggles, on the odd occasion that happens, when there's highlights, on the often occasion that that happens, I'm sure, that you're able to engage in that with a significant other that can represent you, your son or daughter, to the rest of the staff to give context around what's happening within their lives and why they're responding in the way they are to the events that happen in the classroom and otherwise. It's a really special experience, and there are people here at the school. Miss O'Mara is one of the obviously foundation staff members at the school, but she has developed a very, very close relationship with the students that she's mentored, to the point that she's growing up with them and learning lots from them, and they're learning lots from her. And that holistic development and bringing those things together is really exceptional and very special. And probably in conclusion, the only other thing I'd say is that obviously your son or daughter will come with strengths and weaknesses to our school. And one of my other areas is obviously learning support. And we are a school that is very inclusive, a school that has to and will make every opportunity to manage our school processes around accommodating all the different needs of the student. The reason why I've linked up mentoring and learning support is the mentor is the one that's in charge of developing personal plans, which are developed from those parents that may have been engaging with that in primary school, plans to assist in them achieving potential when they're in school. So mentors have complete handling on what's happening with the personal plans, have complete handling about what's happening not only academically, but also what's going within their heart, using their hands and within spirit to make sure that relationship is really quite special. And that's a gift of the school, and that's a gift that if you were to ask any student at the school what they really value, they would often say the mentoring dimension of the school. I hope that's been interesting for you. It's certainly been interesting for me to see what you guys are doing out there, and I hope this has been very informative. I'll pass you back to our principal now, Miss O'Mara.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. What we're going to do was to do some questions. If people would like to type down some questions, we'd be happy to take those now. It's always pretty tricky in these very open forums to perhaps ask questions that you specifically have about your child. And so what we would really encourage you to do is that if you have a question that you think is relevant really to your child, or you prefer not to make it an open question, that you contact the college, and we can just ensure that somebody's able to talk through some of those personal questions. Can I just, one of the big questions we often get is, aren't Year 7 too young to be doing independent learning? And can I assure you that no, Year 7 are not too early to be learning independent learning skills. They have been learning since they arrived on your doorsteps as screaming bundles. Their journey has to become independent people. So they have learned to walk. They have learned to tie their shoelaces. Though I do wonder sometimes, my 19-year-old daughter has the craziest technique for that. But they've learned to do all those things, and it's only by us actively teaching them that they are able to learn it. So I think that we either have the big fall that sometimes happens when our kids hit senior years if they haven't had that chance to become independent, or certainly at university. But it is, and some kids get it quicker than others. It's like some kids learn to walk quicker than others, but that doesn't mean that every child isn't capable of learning. So I've just got some questions coming through now, and I can see is that it says the size of the cohort. So we each year we take in 200 year 7 students, and that is our number again for 2021. There's also a question about a wait list, and unfortunately for the last 2 years we have had a wait list for our year 7, 8 and 9 cohort. So we do encourage you that if you are seriously thinking of JPC, that you are doing that enrolment through the enrolment period. I think that's would be my advice. Other questions I'm seeing as they're coming in on bits of paper, so excuse me while I read about that. Oh, I would like to talk about sports. What I might actually do is to get Mr. Watman just to jump in and talk a little bit about sports. Before Mr. Watman was our assistant principal, one of his roles was actually sports coordinator. So he can talk pretty confidently about that. So I'm going to mute me and he's going to take over.
All right, can everyone hear me? Just give me a thumbs up.
Yep.
Thumbs up. Mr. Johns can hear me. Perfect. So we do run quite a number of sports at the school. A little bit different to a traditional independent school. We do not have weekend sport. We do have a netball club, which runs during the seasons, which is fairly popular. And we do have quite a number of gala days that we participate both at the school ACT carnivals, various community carnivals, with rugby league, rugby union, AFL, and so on. So we do have a lot of those carnivals which students are able to engage in, and we also have a lot of the the athletics carnivals, swimming carnival, and also the cross country carnival. So we do have quite a number of sports that we run throughout the year, and we try and engage the students within that as well. There's just a question just came through about clubs. We also run various clubs throughout the year, so things like drama club, games club, numerous other board games and so on, clubs which we always try and encourage our students, particularly year 7s, to get involved in as a good way to meet new students with similar interests and so on. So I might pass back to Mrs. O'Mara. I think she's got another couple of questions. So hopefully that will answer a few questions around the sports.
Sadly, we were planning our next big production this year. So in 2018, we had our first musical, which was a hugely successful event, and we were planning our next one for this year. The COVID-19 has got well and truly in the way of that. So that will be certainly something that we will implement for next year. So I know there was a question about drama clubs as well. So yeah, there's plenty of activities, and again, that's why it would be lovely if you could have seen the school. There's a very active art club, there's a debating group, so as well as those sporting activities. We will also have up on the website for you is for you to be able to have a look at more details with things, is an information booklet. Now, we had that as a hard copy and then realised that's never going to work in today's world. So we are transferring that across currently to an online version, and so that will be available as of Monday on the website. And I really encourage you to access that as well. I can see how houses sorted, so that if you have got an older sibling in the school, then your house is your house, so that we keep families together, but we ensure that they are in different pastoral care groups. And but for the rest of the students, what we do is that it's a bit of a random allocation. Now, we're always open to having people who have specific requests to approach us and let us know if there's a special need that perhaps a student needs to be in a particular house for a particular reason. We're certainly open to those discussions as well. I can see that there's a question about mixed ability or stream classes. We do not stream, and that is because and I might even pass over to Dr. Cleary here, that the Australian curriculum is very clear that classes are not streamed, and that students are working at the pace that they need to be working at. And so we are very much working with students at their level and where they need to be. Parents are often a little bit confused by this, but in a normal classroom, it would be very normal for any teacher to have a student where their ability is at a very high level. So they might be, their skill level at year 7 might be actually at a year 10 level, and there might be other students that are working at a year 3 or 4 level. And that would be a normal range in a high school class. And so we're very used to being able to cater for students at various levels of their needs. So I hope that answers that question. I've done how houses sorted. Oh, class size. Our commitment is we try to keep our classes to 25 or lower. So that is why we say that we cap our cohort at 200, so that we can ensure that our core classes are at that 25 level. We've just found that that's a really good manageable class size for teachers to be able to work together and for the students to learn. We've got quite a few questions about what's happening later in the year, and what we're going to send out to you is an email will come through at 8 o'clock tonight, which is that we have a number of activities arranged for later on in the year. So there's an information night, there's certainly an orientation day, and there is time for us to actually get to know your child before they arrive at JPC, and for us to have those discussions, and for them to get to know each other. We recognise that that's hugely important. They're going to be a cohort that journey together through a significant period of their time, and hopefully all graduate together. So that's always a great thrill when I've had the privilege of doing that twice now, where we've seen them journey from little year 7s and wave them off at the year 12 formal is quite an amazing experience. So, and the bonds they form as a group are hugely important, that we have them working and that they are with each other. Yeah, there's a question about the library, and again, this is JPC doing things differently. What we don't have an official library, no, we don't, because our previous experience has found that the library becomes a place where books are not, that all the non-fiction books are very quickly out of date, that the students very, very rarely use them, and that it's not a space that is conducive to 21st century thinking. What we do have though, and we are very aware of this, is we are very, very keen for students to be reading. So instead of tucking books away in the library, we actually have our books in the classrooms, and they sit there, and we very much encourage students to be picking up and reading. English lessons, I'm an English teacher, so I have a passion for this area, start with reading, and the idea is that to really reverse that thinking that reading only occurs in a library, but that learning and reading occurs everywhere and anywhere. So that is very much our philosophy. It's based also a lot upon John Hattie's work. So I don't know if people managed to watch his show. It was a TV show on the ABC, and it was called Revolution School. And his big recommendation and literacy experts was to get the books into the classroom so kids were actually picking up and reading books. So we do have a space in the school which is a designated space with books, but again it tends to be a space where we offer it's a learning space, but also at lunchtimes it's where there's board games and activities happen there as well. So it's got perhaps a much broader use than a traditional library would have. So I'm just seeing, I can see that there's lots of typing going on. Is there any more urgent questions for me, or you all just, you'd laugh, you can't see it, but I might show, because you've got to see that they're all just madly typing away in response to your chats so that you're getting the questions to things. So I wonder if at this point we're sort of heading to the end of the evening. If there's anything urgent that you would like to perhaps throw down into the chats, and if we don't get a chance to answer them, or we might go through the chats. I don't know if you're watching them. They move through very, very quickly, and we may have inadvertently missed some of your questions. We are happy to put them into there, and we will spend some time going through them and making sure that we've answered them. So it would be really lovely. I'd love to say hello, a big wave from all our Year 6 kids, because as Mr. John said, it's lovely to see all these beautiful young faces. So I wonder if you could all give me just a huge wave, and it's a bit hard because I don't have you all, but if you flick through there and just see everybody that's sitting there, it's lovely to see you all, and please just spend a little bit more time typing in those questions, and we can answer them. So can I just say thank you again? Please check out the tour. There's, like I said, there's 2 tours. There's one that has been a professional tour that we've had, which is, they call it a remote tour, which is simply an overview of the school. But the one that I really encourage you to look at is under enrolments on the web page, and it's like having an open day tour where our leaders take you through the school and actually show you the spaces. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of there's not many students in there, but we've tried to capture the flavour of JPC for you. So thank you to everybody, and we hope you have a really lovely evening. Keep safe. We hope that we can see you very, very soon face to face, and that we can welcome you all here for an information night. Year 7, your first information night, which is in September, and that's actually the first chance you will find out what house you're in. You will spend time in your house. You will find out where your house area is, and it's a really nice time as an initial introduction. So keep safe, keep well. Talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.